my channel. We are now on the episode 3 of the International Couple Relationship. On this episode, as I promised, we are going to talk deeper about dating a Filipina. Let's talk about expectations, little details, and some maybe that you might find funny or weird. On my episode 2, we were able to talk about how is it like to have a Filipino partner and what are the orange and red flags when you are chatting to them. Imagine that you are already dating a Filipina. I'm pretty sure that you have a lot of questions or maybe encountered some funny ones or some weird ones that maybe your Filipina date does. But before that, I would like to talk about a little about our culture and tradition here in the Philippines when it comes on dating. While some of this still exists and being recognized, there's also an evolution about this. Imagine if you are dating a Filipina and you know some of this, you absolutely going to impress her. In the Philippines, we have traditional courtship when in terms of dating or expressing your admiration to a woman. This far an old tradition. It is described as a true action of visiting houses of a girl and making love proposal. There are different types. For example, singing romantic love songs. In Tagalog, we call it harana. Usually, the guy sing in front of the window, reciting some romantic poems, writing letters, gift giving, and servitude. These include consistent visiting, doing some traditional chores like chopping firewood, fetching water from the well, and many others. To be honest, I never experienced any of this, but I've seen a lot of these with Filipino movies. So what's the evolution of courtship here in the Philippines? Nowadays, now we got international online dating, becoming textmates and callmates, and online video calling and messaging, which makes a lot easier. However, the downside is it's so hard to tell about the genuineness of the person. Okay, after the courtship, I would like to talk about the tradition here in the Philippines when it comes to marriage. Okay, if you plan to get married here in the Philippines, mostly your Filipina will insist or will demand to get married in the church. The main religion here is Catholic. So, don't be surprised if maybe your Filipina will even ask you to become a Catholic if you are not. The marriage can still happen anyway, even if you are non-Catholic. However, most of the church doesn't really allow this as far as I know. If you happen to know about more of this, feel free to comment down below. Probably most of you know that there is no divorce here in the Philippines. We have an annulment as a version of that. It's about the separation of the husband and wife legally. However, the process is way too long and bloody expensive. There are so many foreigners that I know that who are stuck in the annulment battle. So, choose your marriage location well. If you marry abroad, you can also divorce abroad. And still, the marriage will be accepted in the Philippines with a diplomatic process. Just more work to get it all in order to marry abroad, but for me, it is really, really way better. After knowing a little deeper tradition about culture and marriage here in the Philippines, let's talk about some funny tradition, habits, and culture stuff here in the Philippines that maybe your Filipino date does. And maybe for you, you find it funny or weird. It's more fun in the Philippines, right? Okay, number 1. Ever heard of tampo? Tampo means sulking. What is this? This is a common behavior of a Filipina. Listen to this carefully. This is the act of your Filipina will do when she gets a little irritated and annoyed to you. She will be quiet, not talking to you, and even pouting. Normally, tampo doesn't last a day. If you know how to deal with this, you should not be in trouble. Tips: never ignore her. If you ask her and if she says okay, but she's pouting, act immediately. Try to think carefully. Look at her from head to toe. Try to analyze if there's something new to her. Maybe she had a new haircut, or maybe a new nail polish, but you didn't notice it. I know it's hard to tell, but you can try your best. It may sound funny and childish, but it does exist. Number 2, loves to eat rice. Breakfast, rice. Lunch, rice. Dinner, rice. Forget about cereal and bread in the morning. Rice it is here in the Philippines 3 times a day, even 4 times sometimes. Filipina loves to eat. Usually the eating pattern are like this: breakfast, morning snack, lunch, afternoon snack, dinner, even a midnight snack. Yes. So don't be surprised if she always say, "I'm hungry," even if you guys just ate. Good news is there are some unusual, amazing Filipina that enjoys cereal for breakfast, cheese and wine, and bread for dinner. Number 3. So, in relation with a Filipina loves to eat, this shows hospitality as well. When you get invited to her home, don't be surprised that there will be a lot of food in the table that it can feed the entire village. This is a gesture of wanting you to feel at home and enjoy your time. Number 4, karaoke. Yes, we love to sing, but not everybody can sing. We talk, we do. Especially if we are a little bit drunk. If you've never been to karaoke with a Filipino date that you are dating, probably she's thinking you are not the one yet. And also, expect that karaoke is present in every occasion. Number 5, Pasalubong. This is a very well-known tradition here in the Philippines. Pasalubong is a gift or a souvenir given to a friend or relative who has returned from a trip or arrived for a visit. This shows hospitality and it is a thoughtful gesture to share the travel experience. Usually, pasalubong are something that you can find on the place of your destination and or something that represents the place where have you been and where you're from. Number 6, public display of affection, aka PDA. This is acceptable in most places, but here in the Philippines, it's a totally different culture when it comes to PDA. However, it is more acceptable than it was. Here, it's quite conservative due to religious background. So what's acceptable here? Holding hands are common for couples, especially when walking. So don't be surprised if you are only dating in Filipina and try to hold her hands and she will refuse. Usually holding hands represents being in a relationship as a couple. On the other hand, kissing in public is a different and sensitive story on this aspect. A kiss on the cheek or a forehead before leaving each other's company is totally acceptable. But as for torrid kissing, you will definitely going to attract unwanted stares from other people. The thing is, here in the Philippines, Filipinas know how to show their affection in private. Number 7, strong and close family ties. This is very well known in the Philippines. Filipinos place high regards and put importance of their family among anything else. In other countries, when a person turns 18, he or she can leave and be away with his or her family. Not in the Philippines. Here, Filipinos value that family intact, that even if they have their own family, they are still living with their family. So maybe when your date invited you to meet her family, don't be surprised how many uncles, aunties, and limitless of cousins will be around. Remember, on my episode 2, I talk about Filipinas being family oriented. I mentioned that this can be a positive thing, however, there's also a negative caution about it. What do I mean with this? Ever heard of if you marry a Filipina, you marry the entire family? The one that you're dating maybe have a bigger family. While family sizes these days are getting smaller, there are still Filipino family members with 5 siblings, and sometimes more than that. During old age, it can even get up to 12 siblings. Where am I going to this? In the Philippines, it is very common to help relatives, especially your own parents. Here we have this term, we call it debt of gratitude. These traits shows a sense of duty and responsibility. It is almost sounds like an obligation to help for family and relatives. And by looking at this like a tradition, this can easily go out of hand and uncontrollable. So it can happen that very likely you as a rich foreigner will be seen as a provider not only to your partner but also for her family too. Now, this could go wrong with the Filipina that you're dating if it goes out of control. It is okay to help their relatives, but not to the point that they see you as a regular income. For example, it's okay for them to borrow money from you, and if they promise to pay you back, take their words and stand on it. Avoid financial help regularly without valid reasons. But in the end, it is you to decide anyway. Speaking of limitless cousins and extended Filipino families, ever wonder why the population in the Philippines are so high? Well, contraceptive here in the Philippines are hardly increased over the past decades. Birth control, for example, it used to be not so recognizable. And the reasons behind are religious beliefs, political, poverty, and reproductive education. These days is more open though. Now, why is this a rate? Because there are so many single and never been married mothers here in the Philippines. Like me. I used to be a single mother before I actually found my partner. There is nothing wrong about that. It's just that maybe you are dating a Filipina girl and you don't know that she has a kid. Most of the time, the scenarios is the kid is with her family in the province. So just make sure that you are ready with the responsibility if you ever to meet one. Alright everyone, that is all for this episode. On our episode 4, it will be interesting because I am going to interview some people to get some opinions about dating a foreigner. So stay tuned. And if you haven't subscribed yet on my channel, please do it now. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you get updated of all my videos. I hope that you enjoyed watching everyone with my gorgeous background at the back. So stay safe and see you all on my next video. Goodbye!